All right, so last but not least, we're going to bind our shade just to finish up the edges and make it look pretty. This is 1-inch wide grosgrain ribbon. It's heavy duty. This is what you would see similar on the binding on backpacks. It's good for a lot of different things. You can buy it by the foot. I buy it by the roll because I use it a lot. Some machines have the ability to take a 1-inch binder, which pre-folds the tape for you and makes it really easy to install it. This particular machine, which is my needle feed that I use for everything, does not take a binder. So this next step will take a little bit of practice, and I'll give you some tips. You can pre-fold the binding in half. So I'm kind of creasing it just to manipulate it a little bit. You can clip it if you want. I don't, but I'll show you how that works. So basically you want to start with your 1/2-inch fold and the raw edge. And you're going to tuck it under wherever you want to start. And make sure that the edge of your, I don't know if you can see this, the edge of your shade is right in the crease there. And we're just going to start sewing. So you can crease it and kind of eyeball what you're doing here. You could put some clips if you want. I find these craft clips are much easier to use than pins when it comes to binding. And you can see how it's coming out on the other side. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you eyeball it, sometimes it shifts a little bit, so we'll check to see if the edge is caught all the way around. But we're just going around one row of stitching with the tabs. We'll reinforce those later. Now, corners are a bit tricky, so here's how you do the corner. Crease it all the way up to the corner. Go back a little bit, and then you can actually fold it and kind of miter it. And then just continue on. Now here I've got a basted tab that didn't get basted so well, so we need to make sure that that one's caught really good. See, there's our nice miter. One thing to keep in mind is you want to make sure these magnets are all the way shoved up into the edge of the tab, because they are extremely brittle. They will break. They do shatter. And even if they're inside of this, if you hit one with your needle, you're probably going to break your needle and maybe throw your machine out of cutting. So I'm just going to bind this thing all the way around. You can use clips, like I said, if you want. I'm kind of eyeballing my 1/2-inch fold here. I know you all think that's amazing, but it's just practice. I don't use pins. Again, that's just practice. I find that sewing gets a lot more efficient if you're not fiddling with pins all the time. Sometimes you need to, but sometimes you don't. I'll show you what we do when we get to our Velcro. Okay, so we're almost to our straps for the Velcro, and I want to show you another thing. I came around this corner here. This is going to be the top. I mitered the corner. And I mentioned this in the written instructions. See how I placed the tab just inside of the corner there? You can see there's just like it's about 3/4 of an inch in. You want the tab to be at the edge of the top so you get a nice tight seal on it, but if you put it too close, then it'll get caught in the binding when it folds up. So you see when I fold it up, there's just a little bit of a gap there. Being really precise, you could probably work it right up to that edge, but I don't think that's necessary. And so on to the Velcro. Okay, here's one of the problems. As you work on this, the magnets start to stick to each other and you can end up with a big weird pile. So here I am, here's all my Velcro pieces. The straps with the Velcro. I could have basted them into place, but I didn't. You might like to. You'll want to make sure that they're nice and straight, because if you sew them on like this and they're not straight, they're going to hang at it. I think I will baste these. That would just be smart. Okay, so these are positioned nice and straight, and they're held into place. Also, they're lined up behind a tab, because what I found is that when you fold your shade up, if they're not lined up with the tab, you get a sag there. So now I can bind this. You know what? I just made a mistake. Because what needs to happen is these tabs get folded up and stitched down. So this strap is supposed to be underneath the tab, not on top of it. I'm going to have to fix that. We'll be right back. Okay, so I just had to fix this. Just because I've been sewing for 50 years doesn't mean I don't make mistakes sometimes. So you can see the strap is underneath the tab here. When this tab gets stitched up, the strap will be down, and that's what we're going to be after for the final construction.